starting the new project of winter today. I thought I'd perhaps do a couple of different demos over the next couple of weeks. So we've got a few weeks on this. One idea was animals, which some people have started already. And I thought I'd maybe start with snow, and then maybe see if I can do something perhaps on lights and cities or something like that. Maybe as we come towards the end of the session, of the month, or next month. I thought I'd start with this image, perhaps of Hadley Castle to start with, and particularly interested in the trees. And this one here was a demo I did in class quite a few years ago, and I'm quite interested to just try a little bit more of that. These two paintings I did many years ago when there was actually some snow, or just a little bit of snow in this case. So there are those two. This one I was fairly pleased with, but the light was a bit flat. I think I probably made the sky a little bit more interesting. So I thought this one had potential, but maybe to sort of zoom in on that section. I actually found a photo that somebody must have taken on the internet, and it's the same sort of scene but with different lighting. And then I also found this other photograph that I took many years ago, and I've got a couple of versions of that. So this one I've lightened it up a little bit, just to get the snow a bit bright and bring out the colours in the castle a little bit. So quite often I do this if I'm working from photos. I'll use a couple of different photos, and that way, I've got, like with this one, there's a bit more colour in the sky, and I can see a little bit more definition in the background. This one seems a bit more like how it probably was, light-wise. I always find it quite hard when I print photos. They don't to me, always come out the way I remember the places, so sometimes a bit of tweaking. So I would probably just sketch out the main shapes. So something a bit like that. And this is a quick approximation. We've got the background and the estuary around here. The bits I'm quite interested in though are the trees here in the foreground. So pop a little bit of background colour and tone in. So obviously here I'm working on a white canvas, so it's going to be, I'm going to make it a little bit, just a tiny bit darker. Just mix a very slight white. So I'm thinking perhaps in this particular photo there's quite a lot of shadows. So quite often if it's a bright day you'll get slightly bluer shadows. So they might come out a little bit like that. So basically what I'm going to try and do is use a bit of a combination of all of these. So you can have some nice bright shadows, and the lighter bits themselves, the white's not going to particularly stand out. Because we've obviously got a white canvas. This area in the background, I think I'll just put a little bit of colour and tone over the whole area for the time being. And then something for the castle itself. So I'm mixing brown and blue here to get a sort of greys, or a couple of different greys. Should be dark on this side. And then I'm going to go back to the other brush and just have a slightly lighter grey on this side. So something a little bit like that, and then a brighter edge. Arms and all. It keeps everybody away. So I don't know, something like that. It is a bit of an experiment, an improvisation. Sometimes it's nice to do something that's more of a study than a full painting. So I'm thinking, well, to keep that light edge there, I probably need to make it a bit darker behind. So let's just darken that. Yeah, that stands out a bit more, doesn't it? And there are some darker shrubs and things going on there. And then these, yeah, very dark shrubs in the foreground. So let's mix something with just using up all the dark colours in the palette. Really, I've got brown and blue and a little bit of red. Something like that. Maybe just soften those in, kind of blend those in a little bit. Starts to suggest some of these sort of shrubs around here. That's got a little bit wide actually. I quite like the way these windows are quite dark, and then the other one we can see through. So that's quite bright and light. Like that. But the trees themselves, let's see, maybe go for thinner brush, so a rounder brush, or some of the tree trunks. And actually, I kind of need that to dry really to get call it like a dry brush effect. So maybe I'll do a little bit over here, so we can. So these are actually the trunks I want a little bit more solid. I'll make the paint a little bit more fluid, just so that that flows. And then these branches and twigs, what I want to do there is really just create an impression. So I'll use this brush to start with, and just sort of like do a kind of dry brush effect. So I'm basically just picking up a little bit of the texture of the canvas. Now I think the square isn't quite a good brush to use, so let's use a different brush. Something a bit rounder. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, so I've got these fan brushes. So these are quite raggedy at the end. They're very cheap ones. So this might be better. Just getting some slightly random textures, just picking up the grain of the canvas. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to do this. Maybe do one demo on canvas, and then maybe when I do this afternoon we'll be on board. So there's a slight, difference in the textures. So this is where you kind of need the paint underneath to be a bit drier. That's blending in a little bit, but actually I don't think that matters. That's quite nice. And with trees, I've started with the trunks, but sometimes I might just go back in with a small brush and some paint that's a little bit more fluid. Just pop in some odd twigs. Probably need a thin brush. Yeah, let's try that one. so with something like that, I can thin the paint, just make that a bit more fluid and just get individual twigs and branches. Okay, so a bit of an experiment, but it's quite nice to do that sometimes. You don't have to. I mean, that was done created quite quickly, 10 minutes. You could do a number of these and try different light effects out, different textures. You could do some studies maybe just of certain things like trees or something like that. Okay, right, well, let's crack on.